Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Foran.
What's up, everybody? This is Herschel Foran from High School Top 200, and this is the Monday morning meeting. Welcome back again. Let's get all that stuff out of the way. If you want to help me out, please subscribe to my YouTube channel on High School Top 200. Also, like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff on my Facebook page and YouTube page. Also on my Instagram page as well. I've been thinking about doing a TikTok page. I don't really get it, but I guess a lot of you guys do, and that's how you guys share content around and all that other kind of stuff. And so I thought I might get on board with it. I still am not too sure how to do it. I'll probably just get one of my little daughters to help me out with it, and I don't know, get them to teach themselves how to edit. I don't know. We'll do something, but maybe a TikTok would be good as well. But make sure you like and subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. Any thoughts you may have, questions, theories, predictions. Predictions are always good too. I love hearing what people think and where people think the competition is going as well, because that's a real important thing to sort of get that feel yourself. And I know a lot of people around the country watch other people's competitions as well. A lot of people from around the world also come to my page that are all Kiwis from everywhere else. Come to my page and then have a look and see where their team is at. So it's always good to get other people's opinions, and then I can sort of expound a bit more on what I think, and then also get the feelers out on what everybody else is thinking as well in terms of how these different competitions are going. Because well, now that we've come down, everyone's got their last two games. Everyone's got their own traditions going on too. Some catch-up games because, weather's been so bad this year. Especially for teams like Gisborne and even in the Hawke's Bay where roads are shut down and closed off. I really got to give a big shout out to those boys from Gisborne and what they've had to do to travel to games. I remember at the beginning of this year I was talking to them, and it took 8 hours for them to get from Gisborne to Hastings. Something that's kind of half that, or it takes 2 or 3 hours or something usually from Gisborne, I think, to Hastings. But it took them 8 hours, and they still did the trip. They still made their effort. The boys still got prepared, and so I always give it up to them as well for what they've had to do this year, and always think of that extra struggle that they have to go through. Just to be able to continue to compete and continue to put on games for the boys and for the crowd and for their school and all that kind of stuff. So I really, really proud of the boys and what they've been able to do, especially from Gisborne. They've had so much, bad luck with the weather and stuff, and so everyone's got their own sort of struggles. And right now with the last two games, or last game for some like the Miles Toyota Cup are already finished. But I like to hear what people think is going to happen. I like to hear people's theories on how they think it's going to end up, because everybody else is watching like I am. Everybody else has their own thoughts and feelings about how teams have gone in the past, or sort of people have got their own patterns in which they see of these different teams coming, especially for I want to give a shout out also to Māori TV and Māori Active, of what they've been able to do on YouTube and put all the Super 8 teams whole competition on there, and I hope they do something with the CNI as well and put their one on too, and even Wellington competition, because everyone wants to see these games. A lot of people want to be able to sort of be a part of it and be able to see what everybody is doing around the country. And now that everybody has seen what the Super 8 is doing and how it's sort of coming down to end, and now that we see that Hamilton Boys is clearly at the top, along with Napier boys as well. And there's kind of like a chance that there is a chance that Tauranga boys could actually end up at the top of the table at the end of this week. Because Tauranga boys they're sitting on 20 points. Hamilton and Napier boys are both on 25. At the top of the list, it goes Hamilton, then Napier, then Tauranga boys, and then it's got Hastings boys on 19. And Hamilton boys have to play Hastings boys. They'll be playing here at Hamilton. I'll either go to that one or the St. Paul's or St. John's, but Hamilton have to play Hastings. If Hastings actually if Hastings wins this game, and they are able to stop Hamilton from getting a bonus point, and then Napier boys lose to Palmy boys in the Pulse and Banner game, and then Tauranga beats Gisborne boys, Tauranga will end up at the start. They'll end up at the top, and I don't actually think that this Super A competition has been this close before. Even with Hastings boys in it, Hastings boys and Palmy, like, it's so gutting that Hastings boys are that far. They're like 1 point off at 19 points. If they were on 20, and they ended up winning, Palmy ended up beating Napier, and Hastings beat Hamilton boys, you could have like those two Tauranga boys and Hastings boys, leap Hamilton and Napier boys. And it's not like out of reach. It's not out of reach, but it takes Hastings boys to win with 4 tries, deny them from a bonus point, as well as get the win for them to make that jump, and like all those kind of things can happen. But like if you're coming to Hamilton boys and playing on Hamilton boys field, I honestly can't remember I don't know if they've actually lost on their home ground since I've started Top 200, which is 10 years. And like some historian's gonna hit me up and tell me the history of Hamilton boys whenever they lost their last game at home. And maybe I'm missing it. Yes, I am. Oh, how short. No, Rotorua did it last year. What am I talking about? They did it last year. And everyone from Rotorua was probably thinking, bro, we won last year. That's probably the last time. And it came down to what, a kick or something like that? But Hastings beating them is not going to be easy by any means, and at the same time, it's not going to asking them to score 4 tries as well as hold Hamilton boys back. That's a hard thing to do. That's a hard thing to ask of them to do, and so for me, I'm not too sure that those things will change. Napier losing to Palmy is a real deal. That's something that could actually happen. By how much, I'm not too sure. Stopping them from 4 tries is a real thing. Like, I think Palmy can do it. And I don't think this is going to be a blowout game at all by any of these two teams. But Napier boys just need the win. And because it's the Pulse and Banner game, like, Palmy's not going to care about what Napier boys' chances are of making the finals. They're just like, we don't care. We want to, it's for the Pulse and Banner. That's what they play for. That's one of their biggest traditions, maybe the biggest tradition of the year. And so there's going to be no favors in that kind of thing, and in that game either. And it's going to be like one of those hard things to sort of, see, because I feel like the forwards match up so well with Napier boys and Palmy boys. The backs, on the other hand, is going to be the big difference, where you've got Joel Russell, who I think Joel Russell is probably, as to me, the best halfback in the country this whole year, and his consistency rate has been up there every single game. I think Hgh is, it's a hard comparison, right? And even though Dylan and Hgh made it last year, I personally see, and this is just my opinion, like always, it's just my opinion, I personally can't see them keeping out Joel Russell from Napier Boys out of that New Zealand secondary school team. And the cool thing about it is that none of these guys are in the same region. So I don't know what the matchups are this year for who's playing who for the region games, but if the Hurricanes end up playing the Chiefs, and everyone's got stacked sides, everyone's got the most talented players in their region, everyone's got this high level of talent that you have to be in, high level of game that you have to play at, and then you see these guys go off. Even if the Highlanders came up, I don't doubt that they'll come up, because for some reason they never leave. But if they happen to come up and play the Hurricanes, or if the Chiefs went down there or whatever, it'll be cool to see them all go against each other. It'll be cool to see these different matchups. We've seen it already in Super 8, but it's always different when you have these region games and everyone is stacked for talent, because then you kind of got no excuse really. And I'm one of those ones where I look at it as well and I'll be like, nah, you can't say that you don't have good props. You can't say that your forward pack's not good. You can't say that you don't have a first five who's up to it, or can't play in sync, and all that kind of stuff. And so for me, it's just like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I think they're like, if Joel, like, depending on who that first five is, like Joel and Liam O'Connor from Palmy Boys is a real possibility for the 9 and 10. But then you also got Isaiah from Hastings. He would be another one, because like even Isaiah as well, with the talent that he has and that young backline that he has as well, and what he's been able to do, I honestly think that he's done great with what he's had and what he's been able to produce with the guys that he has, alongside him. And so, like, whether it's Isaiah, whether it's Liam, whether it's what's his name from Pyrenees from Scots College, like, Joel Russell, I think, works with all of them. And he's going to be a major factor too. And so when this game happens, you could kind of see Joel on one side and Liam on the other side as a first five, and kind of like think, oh shoot, if those two put those two together, man, that's going to be massive. But then you got CJ Meany, and then you have Josh Augustine, who are the two midfielders for New Plymouth. And then what that matchup is going to be, what does that look like when you have to go up against, Tane? Because like Tane Harvey, he's like he's a different one just on his own too. Like, he's such a hard player to sort of not just plan for, but even to like match up against, because when you think about what he brings to to your team, like if I was to plan against him, I go, okay, this dude's massive, he's fast, he's fit, he's fully aggressive. I don't know, we're going to have to really sort of put a lot of pressure on him when it comes to him having the ball. Maybe that means like meeting him at the ball and at the point of contact, making sure that we're right there in his face kind of thing. The other thing is that like, do we cut off that channel to him before it happens? Do we make sure we try and push him out kind of thing? All these kind of things, because whether he gets the ball or not, it'll be like him and Lave will be the other one, and sort of trying to, I guess, limit his touches with the ball. That's what I'll do, is just limit his touches, make sure that every chance that he gets to touch that ball to make it hard for him, and to make sure that whether he's at like second five or center, just to make sure it's always going to be difficult for him. I would also probably try and agitate him at the same time if it was me. Now, if Love is at 12, and then he ends up being at 13, but if Tane Harvey's at 12, then you got Ryder Croswell, who usually comes in, and then Jamie goes to the back at fullback. If Ryder comes in, that's a different story. It adds a different dynamic, and then that becomes a lot harder because of how good Ryder Croswell has been playing so far. Like even when he's at fullback as well, like he's a dangerous player to have. And if Tane gets all the attention on defense, because you're gonna have to have Carl Stevens sit out there in the back line a little bit sometimes and really fan out wide to shut him down. Have like those kind of things. I would want to make sure that if he gets the ball, that there's no offloads is probably the other thing. If Tane gets the ball, he's going to make whatever meters he's going to make, because he just does that. But then you've got to stop the offload, and then you've got to stop the momentum from there by either putting a lot of pressure on the ball, on the tackle ball, things like that. I would start looking at those kind of situations, because as good as Josh Augustine is, on defense it's not going to be the same thing. But on offense, I would take Josh Augustine over Ryder right now. Just older player, longer, a bit more lean, a bit more experience. Longer strides, so fast. Josh is just so fast. And so like when it comes down to these two teams and when they play this weekend, like on Wednesday, I think it is, it's going to be one of those real hard games that I don't think it's going to be a blowout for any team. I think it's going to be a grind all the way down to the end. I think a lot of Hurricane players are going to come out of this one game just from these two teams. I think the bulk of them are probably going to come from these two teams, and they're probably going to be, I guess, the key rotators in this Hurricane squad. From Tasman, Logan, Richie Mangeli might get another one. The Polting brothers would probably be the other one as well. They'll be it. Like, you still got Quinn. Oh my gosh, I'm even like forgetting the captain's name. But who was it? Tom is an obvious. Eli's an obvious. You can't keep Jacob Booth out, because he's like another one that's played such a good year this year. And I think Palmy Boys as a whole, in terms of a front row, has probably had one of the best front rows in the country all year as a whole. with Jacob Booth, Eli, Odin Ryan, and also Logan Wallace. And so like that's something you have to look for as well. But, you know, going up against Tasman and Richie as props, and even though they're not bigger props, their work rate around the field has been so good, and that's why Napier's been so good all year. And they're not like flashy at all either. They don't have like a flashy team. And so it's going to be interesting. And if Palmy can either knock them off, it's probably going to be Hamilton and Tauranga in the final. And Hastings has just got to bring their best game. Hastings has got to bring their best game. I don't know if Ollie is back. Ollie Mathis has been out for a while, ever since they played Palmy the last time. That's when he was out. Got an injury to his jaw. But I'm not too sure when he's back or if he's going to be back. But I think Kalis is back as well. I think he'll be back too. But Hamilton's going to be a hard team. I think I would rely a lot if I was Hastings boys. I would rely on our front row, the rotation of that front row with JJ Mighty, Izzy, you know, like those kind of guys. And then I would look at Sean McNaughton would be the main one, along with Isaiah at the first five. And just from, you know, from 1 to 10, the majority of the work to me should be done from 1 to 10. And then when those opportunities open out, you know, try and get the ball out to those younger guys. And like, cause you gotta look at how young the Super 8 side for Hastings is. And a lot of them haven't got a lot of experience on the field as well. Like they've played some games, but nothing like substantial where you can sort of rely on them. And I felt a bit sorry for Isaiah at the beginning of this year, because he's had to really learn how to lead and guide these young guys, and everything has to be an explanation. Everything has to be thorough in what he's asking them to do, and so I give it up to them for how hard they've worked to get to the point of which they've been out, and they've had a pretty good year as well. They've had a pretty good year, but they're going to have to take a lot. They're going to have to do a lot to really have a go at Hamilton boys and where they're at as well. I have no problems with Tauranga. I think Tauranga is going to win this game against Gisborne boys, because Gisborne boys is stuck in the same place as well, where they've had to do something drastic. They've had to look at the big picture of what Gisborne boys rugby is and where it is going, and they've had to stop that sort of, you know, that the bleeding inside of that rugby program, restructure it and think of something new. And I think I actually think they're on their way. Like if you look at all the scores that they've had this year, and how they've been able to slowly and creepily get their way into games and stay sufficient in these games, to me is a big turnaround for this program. There was a lot of times where they would get behind early and it was just Gonskis from there, you know, like the boys they just couldn't fight it back, you know, they just couldn't get it back. This year, however, when they have struggled, you saw parts of the game. They did it against Napier boys. They even did it against Hamilton. They did it as well. Just last week, they managed to actually regroup, find a lot of structure, string some stuff together, and really make a run. And that's kind of what I'm looking for in terms of this rugby program, is that all these boys are going to be back next year. I think they lose 4 players from this year. Everybody else is going to be back. And so for me, I think that they're in a great position right now. And even if this year finishes off the way that it is, or the way that it's going to be, I think next year they've got a lot of rugby to play, and it's going to be some really good, exciting rugby. And to take away all that, the road stuff and travel and all that kind of stuff that they had that was out of their control, I think they're going to be something good, eh? Now, New Plymouth Boys is the same thing. Young team, you can't ask Reeves to do everything for that team, along with some of the other boys there, but those young teams from New Plymouth and from Gisborne have got to have some strong off-season trainings together, strong bonding as a team together, figure out what they want to do and their goals as a team, and just train like this. Because the Super 8 competition is hard enough as it is. And then when you've got a young team that you've got to learn different things, it's like, man, you're just asking a lot from them. But that's going to be their situation this week, is that's how hard it is going to be. We might not, if things really take a really big turn, we might not see Hamilton Boys and Napier in the finals. We could see, Tauranga Boys and even Hastings in the finals, if, everything goes to plan kind of thing. But that's a hard thing. I think Hamilton has the easier shot, but it's only slight, and it's not even guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. And so it's going to be interesting this week. Like I said, I still don't know which game I'm going to go to, whether it's going to be that game or whether it's going to be St. John's and St. Paul's, because that's going to be another big game too in the CNI, which has also come down to its last games, where St. John's Hamilton have taken the lead. Whanganui Collegiate is second on the same points, but they're second. Then you got Francis Douglas so 32 points for St. John's and Whanganui Collegiate. Then 31 for Fielding, 28 for St. Paul's, and then the 226s is Wesley College and St. Peter's Cambridge. Wesley College, however, have got 2 games left. Everyone else has got 1, and Wesley College have got 2 games left. So that's Francis Douglas and St. John's Hastings. I don't know how they're going to fit it in, but they've got to fit it in some way. They took a loss to Fielding, on Saturday, which was a massive game, just a big game. So physical, and things just happen, But they still have a chance to make that top 4 with those 2 games left. They could push out St. Paul's, and even if St. John's win against St. Paul's, they can push St. Paul's out. With Wesley should win both of them, but both of those games are away. That's New Plymouth and that's Hastings. That's a lot of travel. That's a lot of travel. And they've got to have to do it in this week, I think, if they're going to keep within schedule. So I don't know. I haven't heard anything yet, but maybe they play sometime today or tomorrow and then have another game on Saturday just to get it all in. But they have a chance to make the top 4. Winning those both games will put them in there. Fielding and Whanganui College play this weekend too. If I didn't have to drop off my wife to the airport on Saturday, I would probably go down to that game, because that game is such a massive one for this competition, for what Whanganui has done. Tully not being there, Yoasa not being there in that side is a massive drop off for that team as a whole, and what they do when he is there. So when you think about it, right, and then you've watched the way that they've attacked, they attack usually through what he does. Now, I personally don't think that he's a second 5. His best fit to me is not second 5. His best fit to me is centre, and I would want him to have more space. Even though he's great at crash ball, I think he's just better with space. I think he's better going on the outside of guys, separation, things like that. Drawing fullbacks in and then just giving it out to the wingers, that kind of play. he can sort of play a step back from the line off a second five who's really good. Like, I would like to see him with someone like Tane, if Tane was at second five, or Yeti Campbell was at second five, someone like that, especially in that Hurricanes region. Even CJ Meany would be another one who I think would be great at second five if Tully was there as well, because he's another one from Napier Boys that I would like. Puna is another one, who is a crash ball type guy, and if he could crash, guys clean out, and then have that second wave, and then have Tully take that second wave, I would like that too. I think that would be a pretty good foundation to set that second attack of wave attack off, and then having Tully control it too. And then, so like for me, once they lost him from Whanganui, and that's something that they struggled with on Saturday, was trying to get that attack going. They do have some options, because you still got Will there, you still got Monty, Peter's still there, Noah's still there, so that they do have enough players to figure it out. Tim O'Leary, I think he is the number 8, who can play in the back line, because he's such a energetic guy, real fast, pacey, aggressive, and he's good enough to crash ball at second five. He's good enough to defend, backs as well, who are faster players. Like, he's just that hustle man guy. Kind of a little undersized for number 8 if you're talking reps, but definitely in first 15 he's easily one of the better guys and harder workers on the field. But that's where they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle with that too. If Tully's not back on Saturday, it's going to be hard for me to see them get past Fielding, especially after Fielding got that win over Wesley on Saturday, and just that high from going away, getting that win, and that was like a must-win kind of game, and they've got another must-win game, but this time it's going to be at home. I can see Fielding being up for it and being a bit too much for Whanganui if Tully doesn't come back, or if they don't get it right. Now, Tawhaiuasa, to me, is like, I have no doubt that he's got something planned if Tully's not there. It's just whether the boys can execute it is kind of the other thing too. Like, remember, we're asking boys to do something that they've only been in the first 15 a year or maybe 2 years, and we're asking them to do something that is way out of their comfort zone of what they've been taught as a player. And those are the kind of things that I love to see in first 15 rugby, and especially with all these young boys, is like, who can do it. Like, you can even ask a man who's been playing for so many years to make a transition within 1 or 2 games from one position to another, and you go, okay, 1 or 2 games, then he's pretty much got it. But asking a kid to that, he needs six or so games to sort of get comfortable with what he's doing, or what his options are, or knowing how to play something. It's just one of those kind of things. But if it all finishes here, St. John's and St. Paul's is not going to be an easy one. St. John's should win, but it's not a guarantee at all. Not at all. It's going to be a close game, I think. I think St. John's, I think they have to play physical, like real physical. I think they have to use all their big boys that they have, because that St. Paul's forward pack is so good as well. St. John's is just going to need everything. They're going to need everything out of all their boys, out of all their forward pack. Then Matt Robinson's another one that you kind of just have. Michael Robinson's another one that you have to sort of watch out for with his kicking game and trying to utilize it. I think Leighton, who's a year 11 first 5 for St. John's, if he gets the nod to go first 5, I think is a great move for their attacking platform. and he's a bit more flasher. He had a great tournament in the under-16s for Waikato, and I think he's there. I think next year he's going to have a really, really, really good year next year. And I think it's time to get him in one of these, big games too, like really meaningful games where I don't care if you're year 11, you've got to step up. That's kind of one of those kind of situations, and this game is probably one of those. It's like, we don't care that you're year 11. You're a first 15 member, you're good enough to be here, get out there and do it. No more excuses. He's going to have one of those games, and I think that St. Paul's is going to be one of those games where all of it matters. You know, if you choose to be a first 5, that's just kind of what comes with it. And I think St. John's will win, but I don't think it's going to be easy, and I don't actually think it's guaranteed at all. I just think they're better. Obviously, according to my rankings, I just think they're better, but whether they actually win the game is a different story, you know. But St. John's need a win. Whanganui Collegiate need a win. Everyone pretty much needs to win. Wesley College need to go figure out these road games, these 2 road games that they have to finish off the year. Hopefully that they don't get too wasted from it. And you got to think about it too, is that even if they do win these 2 games and then they do make it into the semis, they're going to have to travel again. Now, for them, if they came 4th place and they ended up playing St. John's, that's a bonus to them. It's a bonus to them, 100%, because you don't. If I was Wesley, I'd be like, I just don't want to finish 3rd. If that's the case, I just don't want to finish 3rd, because if Fielding end up beating, if St. John's win, Fielding wins, and then Wesley wins, you go like, I just want to play in Hamilton. That's not far away, but I definitely don't want to travel down to Fielding, because if it's like the past years where they've all played down in Taupo, Wesley's going to have 4 games away, and the long traveled games, and then the finals just adds it to it as well. So for me, if I was Wesley, I'll be like, cool, let's try and hit 3rd place. Let's try and hit 4th place if St. John's win, and then we get to just travel to Hamilton. Done deal, easy. You know, it's like easy. We can just travel to Hamilton. We don't have to take these big trips down to Hastings or New Plymouth or down to Fielding. And I know they just want to get in there, but best case scenario for that in terms of that, is to get there. But if they can actually maximize on all their points and actually come second and have that home game in the semis, even better. Even better. Miles Toyota Cup is already set, you know. Nelson College and St. Bede's, Christchurch Boys and St. Thomas. I don't know what to think about St. Bede's, you know. They're just too up and down, pretty inconsistent. Got a solid team on paper, but it just doesn't. Something just doesn't. I don't even know, man. I'm not even too sure what it is, eh? I've watched 7 games of theirs this year, and even in the ones that I thought were easy, they made it look so hard. And some of them I think they just bailed out on. And I don't know if that's true. That was just the kind of feeling that I got from it. And I hope that that's not the truth as a team, but between Christian and Jermaine, they have a lot of talent in their team. I'm just not too sure what it is, and I don't know, too much about what the attitude of the team is. But a lot of times it just felt like there was just feeling that they just didn't want to push to that extra level. And like even the other week, last week when they lost to Samhain, and they deserved to lose. Like they really did. They really didn't play as good as they should have, and then that's what happened. They lost. So I don't even know what team was going up to Nelson College. And then the hardest thing is, it's like, bro, you're going to Nelson. You have to take that travel. You have to make that sacrifice. You have to still wear that crest on your chest, and then represent your school on this long ass trip, but then what team is going to turn up? And that would be my concern. And I'm not trying to have a dig at you boys or nothing, but that's just a feeling that I got from watching St. Bede's on tape. And like, people have heard this before, like St. Bede's is one of my favorite teams to watch. Like, if I wasn't doing this and I was a supporter, that would be one of my favorite teams to support. It would be like them, Silverstream, De La Salle. Those are like my 3 favorite teams if I had like a bias. And so like, I think that like, when I watch the side and I kind of think, man, I don't know what it is, but there's something not quite right. And you can't take that attitude into Nelson. Nelson, even with the injuries, and they've got some guys that are filling in, younger boys filling in, getting some good quality time, that's still a massive side, and that you can't do that with a massive side like that. Christchurch boys and St. Thomas is another one where St. Thomas has been, their health has been really good. Rotation that they have in their players have been really good. The score and everything like that. I think I've only watched 5 games of them this year, and every single game I thought they were really impressive in the way that they played support with each other. And I think it's good too, because they're a side that is kind of new to each other, where those big time leaders left, and then you still got Tino and Noah and those kind of boys too, and then being able to match up with the sides who have more experience. I kind of am picking St. Thomas to beat Christchurch boys, and it's not just because Christchurch boys lost last week. I just think that St. Thomas is on a different journey right now. Sort of their why they want to do this has really come through, and they're really playing as a team. Normally I wouldn't choose St. Thomas over Christchurch boys, because Christchurch boys is like a Hamilton boys kind of team. It's like they're always going to be good. And so, but I just have this feeling I think St. Thomas is going to win this game. Then you got Melbourne Christ College. They're playing in the plate with Stack and Selwyn combined. I'm actually picking Selwyn combined for this one. And then I'm picking Christ College as well to be in that final for the plate. Otago boys losing, such a, congrats to King's High School, and that's just, what it is. But I think it was coming. Like King's High School has probably been gearing up. They had a few bad games. Especially with Dylan Pledges, who hasn't been around for a little bit with his injury, hamstring I think it was, but now that he's getting time coming back, I think there's a bit more confidence in that team. They'll have Wakatipu, and that's not a situation to play around in. I think they, even though they got this big win over Otago, they can't relax, and I think they have to sort of drive off that again. And if they're going to come into this game, they should have the mindset of, let's give these boys a hiding from Wakatipu, because Wakatipu could win this game. And they have a team that can win it. They've been playing really well as a team. Obviously moving up has been a big deal for them, but I think that those boys enjoy that they've moved up that level. Kind of a bit of a belief for them. And so for me, it's just like, if I was King's High School, I would say, I don't care how better we are on paper to these guys. I want to try and hit 50 points, and then have that mindset and attitude, and don't let it drop even when you get to 25 plus and it's like 25-0, or even when you get to 37-0, don't drop that mentality, because you need that mentality when you end up playing Southland boys or Otago boys again, things like that. You have to keep that same energy that you're drawing up, and not let it go until that whistle blows and that you got that win, and sort of just show yourself that you guys can take it to that extra level as well. Southland boys will play against South Otago High School, and it's just the same situation. Southland boys is just Southland boys. There's nothing more to it. That's just who they are. They're Southland boys, and they just get it done. They're just a winning program all the time. South Otago have just got to, every chance that they have, just try and test themselves, try and leave an impression on the other team for what they could do. But yeah, the big one is for Otago to sort of come back against John McGlashan, because that's got to be hurting those fellas. Otago's really got to hurt, and they need to take it out on somebody. That's just going to happen. It's like, just take it out on somebody, and whoever that team is next is like, take it out on those fellas. But yeah, I still think this, it's just going to be the same as always for that competition down in Otago. In the 1A is going to be, last two games. There's, St. Kitts and Sacred Heart, I think, are safe. The last spot, which is the 3 and 4, right now it's Grammar, St. Peter's, Kelson Boys, and De La Salle. In that order, those are the last 4 competing for those last 2 spots. De La Salle, who played so well on Saturday, I was blown away by how consistent they were. They I think one thing that kind of annoyed me is that they let the winning loosen them up a bit more, where I feel like they have to take the same approach and go, let's keep this intensity and just ride it all the way to the 70th minute, and let's not lose track. And I obviously know that a lot of those boys all know each other, and and that's fine, but the practice for high intensity is what I think that those boys need to just maintain that focus that they have, because at the beginning of the game, that main focus that you have at the beginning of the game should ride out all the way to the end, and you don't let it up until the finishes. And I think De La Salle, they need to do that again, especially against Liston College and King's College. Even though Liston and King's College are not on the level that De La Salle is at, De La Salle has to have the mindset that let's drop 30 on both of these two teams, and then let's make this top 4. Because if De La Salle go through and then they win both of those games, and then they win it with bonus points, they're going to be in that top 4. Auckland Grammar and they're going to have to fight it out, but Auckland Grammar have to play St. Peter's this week, and then Auckland Grammar has to play St. Peter's and then play Sacred Heart. They could lose both of those games. St. Peter's have to play Auckland Grammar and Kelson Boys, and again they could lose both of those games too. Kelson Boys has to play St. Ken's and then St. Peter's. So the only one that has the easiest route to the finals is De La Salle, and De La Salle has to have that mentality to take them all the way through. And behind Sean, they have to get behind Sean, do that. Lala's the other one that's been kicking really well. I think he's the only lock who's kicking this year, but he's been playing really well. Ron is another one that's played good. Frank, of course, in the back line along with Gabe. James Singh is also playing really good at halfback right now. I think the thing with James is that because he wants to take it so fast, and he got called back a lot, like the points could have been higher. But I think James has got to make note that wherever the ref is standing, take one step back behind wherever he's standing, tap it, and then go. Because even if you're in line with the ref is going to, regardless of what he's saying, he's going to look at you and go, we can't be there, you've got to be at least behind me somewhere. He should just line up with him, take a step back, tap it, and then go. And then I think the ref will be like, oh no, he was already behind me anyway. I was going to put the mark here, that kind of thing. And sort of rush the ref and put pressure on the ref to go, oh, let's just play on. He took a step back, let's just play on. And James is, I think that's one thing that he's got to learn, as well as that, you can't dictate where he's going to or predict where he's going to, set the mark for the tap, but just line up with the ref, take a step back, tap, and then go. And that's what I reckon. But De La Salle, if they keep playing the way that they are, and they can keep putting on heaps of points onto these teams, I have no doubt they're going to be in that finals, and they're going to be, hopefully they'll sit into maybe before the points they can hit third place. I don't actually think third or fourth really matters, to be honest. Just make the 4. That's what I reckon. Just make the 4. Your fans are going to turn up regardless. There's no such thing as a home game, whatever. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Everyone's going to turn up everywhere anyway. But yeah, Auckland Grammar's the one that's got to watch out. It's going to be big on whoever wins against St. Peter's and also Auckland Grammar. I think because Auckland Grammar's the one on the winning streak right now. St. Peter's just lost in the weekend. Auckland Grammar did it hard against Mags. I'm trying to find someone that's got that game. I want to watch that game. That was the game I was actually supposed to go to, was that game. But I ended up going over to De La Salle instead. But if I was to say, Auckland Grammar will probably be in the better position momentum-wise than what St. Peter's is. But I actually don't know. I don't actually have an opinion right now on who I think is going to win that. I think St. Peter's is a better team, but whether they're going to win it, I'm not too sure. Because Auckland Grammar is playing really, really good. I think Auckland Grammar actually has the better individuals, but I think St. Peter's has the better team as a team. And St. Peter's is probably going to have the best backline next year in the country. Yeah, I actually think that they're going to have the best backline in the country next year. And probably along with Hastings and Hamilton. Maybe Kelston Boys as well. It's going to be another one who's probably going to have the best backlines. But St. Peter's going to be right up there. And I actually think St. Peter's probably have the best backline next year. But as of right now, they are, to me, they are the better team. But if they're going to win on Saturday, I'm not too sure. I really don't know. But St. Kitts and Sacred Heart are probably the only ones that are really that safe. Everyone's going to be fighting for that other spot. Kelston Boys have just got it too hard because, they've got St. Kitts and then they've got St. Peter's. And I'm not saying they can't win both of them. I'm just saying that's a struggle. That's a hard one, That's a hard one. But yeah. And Wellington. We go to Wellington. Hibs in St. Pat's Town. I don't know if Hgh Sports does that one, but I think that would be the game if I was Hgh Sports that I would go in, because that's going to be the main one. Because Hibs is 3rd, Whited Up is 4th, Wellington College is 5th, and then Town is 6th. And if Hibs win and they beat Town, Hibs is going through to the finals. In the 3rd place, because I think Whited Up is going to beat Rongotai. Wellington is going to beat Tawa. Tawa's just got to sort of knuckle down and make it so hard for them to even do anything. For Tawa, and Tawa is like another one that's one of these young schools. I think they lose 3 year 13s. Everybody else is year 12 and year 11. They went from 3rd division to 1st division this year. And the fact that these guys have been able to train together as a team, they've had some hard games and they've had some hidings, which, in all honesty, like you just have to take, because you're in this division now. You just have to take them. But I think the bounce back from what these teams have done after their hiding is that they've learned and they've been able to sort of adapt and change little things here and there. And so it's been really good for these boys from Tawa. This Saturday, they're just going to have to make things hard for Wellington, and then sort of go out on a big, go out on a sort of a high performance. Even if they don't win the game, it's the high performance that they're going to be happy with. I think Tawa, because they won the co-ed in Wellington, I would like to see Tawa come up to Rugby by the Beach, come into that tournament. for the end of the year. I think that'll be a cool one for them. But they just have to make things hard for Wellington College. But with Wairarapa win and Hibs win, that will stay the top 4. So Town have to do something, Rongotai have to do something, and that's just going to be really hard, That's just going to be one of those really hard ones. And earlier I would have picked Hibs, but Town has been playing so well. Even in their loss against Silverstream, I still thought that Town was actually on an even level with what Silverstream was. It's taken so long for them to get to this point and had so many bad games when they shouldn't have. And I kind of think that they have this thing where they're only sort of just maybe believing in themselves now. But yeah, they got to do something, man. They really got to do something. Scots and Silverstream are just waiting. Hibs, Wairarapa, Wellington College, and Town. Those are the last guys that are fighting for those last 2 spots. And I hope they live stream it, because I want to actually see all 4 of those games. Those games will be me. I actually want to watch all games, to be honest. Like this week, I've got 18 games that I'm watching from people sending me games. I've already finished half of them, and then the others I'll do today and tomorrow, before I pick my team of the week on Wednesday. So, that's sort of how I do it. And then North Harbour, no surprise, Westlake's the meanest. That's kind of all it is. Good win for for Rosmini over Massey. That was another big one, and so it's just going to be hard. It's hard for that competition just to look and go, well, who's going to top these guys? It's like, really, it's just like, no, none of us. We kind of all just have to make our way to the finals. Rosmini's going second. Massey, I think it's going to be Rosmini, Massey, and Tekapuna are going to be the top 4 for that. And Whangarei have finally showed up, but they're showing up a bit too late. It's like, come on, man, they got such a good side. They're just showing up late, But anyways, that's the rundown from this week. Look forward to everybody. Please put in your best efforts for your last games of the year, last games of the season, and everything. All your year 13s go off a bang. Put everything out there, leave everything on the field, kind of a situation. And just do it for that crescent on your chest that everyone's got, or the pride and mana of your school. Love yous all, man. Here's from for High School Top 200. Later, ball.